Okay, for the first one, we times both sides by 6, and we got x equals to negative 31. I think everyone get that right. I'll go around and check for that. And for the next one, I'll say, like, if you don't have time, just don't do this. It's a very tedious question, but like the idea is not hard at all. So what you do, you times by the denominator times together x plus a, x minus b, x plus c on both sides of the equation, or you can make a common denominator for all of it, and you have like the second line, like this long equation here. And the next step, you expand everything, and then you see what's the same thing, and you get this cancelled from both sides. And then after all of your hard working, you will have an answer as ab over a minus b minus c, which is a quite simple answer. Okay, so you need to factorize and then just divide and do whatever you need to do. So you have an answer like this. Actually is not very correct. Like for this question, let me say, we're just not 100% sure about my answer, because can you see the second last step? Like, don't worry how I get the second last step. If you expand and factorize, you get the second last step as me. This one. Can you see I get actually divide by a plus b on both sides of the equation? Can you see that? That's not actually, it's not the right thing to do, because you don't know whether a plus b is 0 or not. If a plus b is 0, you can't divide 0 on both sides of the equation. So actually there should be another answer here. Like this is one of the answer when a plus b is not 0. Okay, when a plus b is not 0, that's one answer. Another answer should be when a plus b is 0, x can be anything. X can be anything. Why x can be anything? Because that's 0, doesn't matter what is x. Both sides always 0. It's always 0 equals to 0. So it's always true. Okay, it's always true. So when a plus b is 0, like for example, if a is 3, b is minus 3, and that's adding give you 0, x can be anything. Anything can make that work, because that will give you the idea, like doesn't matter what x should be, like 0 and 0 times together, both sides is always 0. So x can be r, real numbers. You can solve x for r. But I don't think this question is really wants to test you about that. So I will just get that divide from both sides and then have the x, a simple x answer. So you should be aware of that. When you're trying to divide something on both sides of the equation, do not include variable in it. Do not include anything like a, b, c in it, because you don't know what is the value of a, b, c. There's a possibility it can be 0. If it is 0, which means you shouldn't do that. Okay, which means you shouldn't do that. Okay, that's the second question. You can play with it, like you can copy the answer down and then see what you finally get. It's quite interesting. For the second one, we have x equals to minus 4 and y equals to minus 13. X equals to minus 4 and y equals to minus 13. So that's the second one. I use both methods, elimination and substitution. But remember, elimination will always, well, not say always, most of the time will be a good method compared to substitution, because it has eliminate one variables rather than sub one thing into another. So to avoid some like mistakes, also you can easily get something cancelled. So which is the method I prefer. Okay, if you like substitution, that's fine. Just suggest you to use elimination. Also, if you have two pairs of answers, like this is linear equation, I have x equals to minus 4, y equals to minus 13. Why is like that? Every 5 minutes, I think. Let's get it back. Well, I don't really need a screen now. So if you have two pair of answers, like for example, x equals to minus 1, y equals to 0, x equals to minus 2, y equals to minus 1, do not just write it randomly. Like you need to write in pairs. Okay? When x equals to minus 1, y equals to 0. When x equals to minus 2, y equals to minus 1. You must write things in pairs. rather than just say, oh, x can be -1 and -2, y can be -1 and 0. Like, I don't know what are the corresponding pairs. So thing must be right clearly. Let me get back to the screen. Is that on or off? The screen? That is not on. What's wrong with that? Controller will not respond for 2 minutes. Okay, 4, 3. Come on. Okay, next one. I think a lot of you got understanding problem of this question. Okay, so it says someone has received 1,400 interest per annum from a sum of money. Okay, he got some money. And then with part of it invest at 10% and the other part invests at 7% simple interest. It's only simple interest. So I have some money. Okay, I don't know how much I have, but I have put some in one bank and some in the other bank. Let's say I put X amount in one bank and Y amount into the Y amount into bank B. So in bank A, this amount of money enjoys 7% of the interest. And then this one got 10% of the interest. So the interest at the interest, you will have 1,400. And then if she swapped the amount of money in both banks, like the Y amount go to invest in the 7% one and the X amount go to invest in the 10% one, then I will have 1,490 interest, which means like, well, you can directly see that I must have more money in X than in Y, right? I must have more money in X than in Y because I've swapped that I gain more money, which means Y swap, like the 10% one got more money, and then I can increase my interest. So there should be more money in X and less money in Y to make that happen. But anyway, that doesn't matter. What I want to see here is that's two simultaneous equations. I want to solve those two simultaneous equations. Well, first method you can use calculator to do it, but I think you should be able to do it by hand. So I'll use elimination here. Okay, I used elimination here. So I times both sides. I times that from 1, I have this 2 from this. I times 0.7 for this one. Okay, I times 0.7 for that one because I want to make 0.07 to use elimination to get rid of the X. And then the Y subtract, I go 0.05Y equals to that. And I have Y equals to 7,000. And then I substitute that back into X. I should have X equals to 10,000. And it's asking you the total amount money you invest. That will be 17,000. Okay, it should be 17,000. Well, I'm not going to ask you to just copy line by line now. Like you can go back to videos to see all this clearly, make the stop button, I can copy that. So I'm not going to wait now to ask you to copy this because I want to talk about the last page. Okay, this one. For this question, I feel like students are not good at solving equations without numbers. Okay, so solve for polynomials. Well, solve for X and Y. I should change that. Just solve for X and Y. So treat ABC as numbers. So first of all, if it asks you to solve equation, okay, solve an equation. If there's denominator, the first thing you want to do is always get rid of the denominator times the common denominator. That will be always your first thing to do. Okay, a fraction, not good. I don't like fractions. I will get rid of the denominator first. How I can get rid of the denominator? 2x will be my common factor, a common denominator. So you will times that. You will times 2x on both sides of the equation. Okay, that will be your first thing to do. Okay, first step is get rid of that. So I have 2a here, I have b here plus 2cx here. Second thing, okay, it's always true. Like, second thing, leave x on one side. I'm talking about linear equations. Okay? I'm not talking about the quadratic. I'm talking about linear equations. So there's only one single x. There's no x squared, no such things. So you leave the term contain x in it on one side. Anything not containing x, all throw to the other side. Because only x is your variable. A, B, C, they are not your variables. Only leave the term with x on one side, anything else to the other side. Okay, so I have to throw the b to the other side and leave 2cx by itself. Third step, I don't really have a third step here, but if you have like more than one x term, you need to take x as a common factor and then factorize that. For example, if I have a 2cx plus bx, I need to take x as a common factor, like x times 2c plus b. Like take a common factor x out. Last step is just you divide. You divide the coefficient of x. Okay, you divide the coefficient of x. So you will have 2a minus b divided by 2c. Okay, 2a minus b divided by 2c. For the next one, the first step will make y to be the subject. I have made y to be the subject. Y is 2x minus 5. Okay, y is 2x minus 5. And I put y substitute into the second equation. I get x times 2x minus 5 over 12 equals to 1. This screen is so annoying. I don't like this room. That's not the room for my study. Is there anyone in K304 actually? Like,
there's one class in here. Maybe accidentally.
There's a class. Why they use our classroom? Let's go in and kick them out.
Tell them to come here.
Yeah, tell them to come here. We'll use that one. Well, I will tell you the answer. This one, x equals to 4 and y equals to 3, and x equals to negative 3 on 2, y equals to negative 8 is here. It's here. Okay, it's here. So, doing the substitution equals to 1. So whatever you need to do is solving quadratic, and that's what I said. You have two x values. You need to make it really clear. This x is corresponding to this y value. This x is giving you this y value. Just do not just say, oh, x can be that, y can be that. I don't know which two are pairs. Okay, you need to pair them. They only come to pairs. You can't say, oh, 4 and negative 8. You don't have 4 and negative 8. Okay, you have this 4 and 3, negative 3 on 2 and negative 8. That's what you have. Okay, linear coordinates geometry. That's what I said. You have three things you can find between 2 points. Okay, you have gradient, you have distance, and you have midpoint. You shouldn't have any problem now for these questions, okay, these formulas. If you do really need to work hard and then try to remember them, can't really help with that. I have drawn a flow chart for find the linear equations, which is not necessary for most of you, but if you need it, please just take it. What I'm thinking for linear equation is what kind of information do I have? Okay, first question we ask myself, do I have gradient? If it's yes, we go for if yes, if no, okay. If it's yes, we need to think about, do we have y-intercept? Okay, so because I want to give mx plus c4, do I have y-intercept? Okay, if it's yes, oh yes, simple, y equals to mx plus c. Because you have the gradient, you have the y-intercept, directly give the equation. If it's a no here, we can use, you must have another point, okay? You must have another point, which is x1, y1. We can use y minus y1 equals to m bracket x minus x1. Because we know the gradient, we must know the other 1 point on the graph at least. So that will give me the new, make y to be the subject, you have the linear. if you have no gradient given, which means you must have 2 points, okay, 2 separate points, what you need to do, you use y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 to find the gradient first. And then that question become a yes, and then keep asking yourself, do we have y-intercept? So basically what I need is gradient y-intercept. If I don't have y-intercept, I have x1, y1 to help ourselves to work out the equation. So which is something just make it look good for, and I think most of you will know that. A parallel, perpendicular, 100 times, like you really need to worry about that. ABCD is a parallelogram with vertices labeled anti-clockwise, such as A and C are points as that. Okay, I have sketched this graph here. It's a little bit big. I can make it a little bit smaller when you can see the full graph. I'll press the on button more often to make it align. This function is not available, I know. Okay. Anyway, we have that is the midpoint. You shouldn't have any problem with the midpoint. If you do, just revise, okay, and do more work. Next question says, given that BD is parallel to this equation, okay, BD is parallel to y equals to minus 5x plus 2. I have rearranged the equation to make mx plus c form, and we have the gradient for BD already, okay, so we know what is the gradient for BD. So that is minus 5. But I will know that the midpoint M will be on BD. As I said, when you have 2 diagonal of the parallelogram, they will intersect and bisect each other. So they will bisect each other. So the midpoint is the AC's midpoint, but it also will be the BD's midpoint. So it is the midpoint for both diagonals. So, okay. We have the gradient, but we don't have the y-intercept. Think about the flowchart. We'll use y minus y1 equals to mx minus x1. Rearrange the equation. We have y equals to minus 5x plus 13. Any questions? Okay, so that's for B. Okay, B, we can work out the equation for BD. This red line is, well, this red line is not stop, like extend forever. I don't know where's B, where's C yet, but I know the equation for BD. The equation is minus 5x plus 13. And C says given BC is perpendicular to AC. Where's your BC? Your BC must be, B must be here, C must be there, because it says anti-clockwise, okay, A, B, C, D, that order. So your B must be here, D must be there. So if you can sketch it really in the Cartesian plane and then draw it like 2 scales, you can see B must be here. Also, how we can find B? We need to find the intersection between BD and BC. If we know the equation for BC and we know the equation for BD, that's why first one is asking you what's the equation for BC. So AC, you have a gradient of negative 2 on 3. Then BC is the negative reciprocal of the gradient, which is 3 over 2, because it's perpendicular. And then I know the point C is both on AC and BC. I know the equation will be written the way y minus 1 equals to 3 over 2 x minus 5, y minus y1, gradient x minus x1. We have the equation for BC, which is the 3 over 2x minus 13 over 2. Okay, so this one is easy. We just find the perpendicular gradient and then we know C is on that equation. We can find out the line, the linear equation. And for second one, ask me the coordinates for B. Can you see the B must be the intersection between the red line and the line we just figured out? That will be the intersection. Well, if you can sketch for it, you will know that will be the intersection. So we simultaneously solve for the equation of BD and BC. Then we can see the equation gives us x equals to 3 and y equals to negative 2. So 3 comma negative 2 will be the point of B. Okay, for that point. Negative 3 and negative 2. So that will be the coordinates of B. So it must be the intersection between the diagonal and the actual like side. And asking for the point D. So I know B is 3, -2. We just work out that from part 2. And I don't know what is D. Let's say D is A, B. Like D is A, B. I don't know what is D. D is some value. The midpoint. What is the midpoint? The midpoint will be 3 plus A over 2 and minus 2 plus B over 2. That's the midpoint between B and D. But also I know the midpoint is 2, 3. Okay, the midpoint is 2, 3. Therefore, we need to equalize them because they're the same midpoint. So 3 plus A over 2 equals to 2, which gives me A equals to 1. B minus 2 over 2 equals to 3, which gives me B equals to 8. So 1, 8 will be the coordinates of D. Yes? It's like when you see the graph, it's very easy to deal with. It's like the important thing is how you can sketch the graph. Okay, how you can sketch the graph. And do you know the midpoint will be both on AC and BD? If you don't know that, you just can't solve this question. Okay, so you must know the midpoint will be the midpoint of 2 diagonals. Okay, we have 2 more minutes left. Tomorrow we'll finish at 2. Tomorrow we'll go through the matrix topic. So if you have time tonight, just get some of those questions done because it's quite a lot of calculation. I'm afraid you don't have enough time on class to get that done. So trying to do 1 or 2 pages of the matrix question